This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
I'd like to convene the North Haven Fire Commission meeting for March 18, 2025. I'd like everyone to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask for the approval of the Board of Fire Commission regular meeting held on January 21st, 2025. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. The Chief's report.
Good evening. A couple things for Chief's report, same things that we typically cover. I'll start with, which is alarms. So last year we were at 1,003 alarms. This year we're at 983. Our last meeting occurred on February 18th, so the numbers I'm going to provide you below are going to be a time period of February 18th to March 17th. So since that time, we provided an ALS intercept 14 times. We also had 14 incident responses to the highway, 75 incidents in which just an ambulance was dispatched and no fire personnel were needed. And we had 60 occurrences, which accounted for 135 incidents that were overlapping. Came out to about 34% for this past month. I was asked by a commissioner prior to this meeting to provide a count of the number of times that we've had no fire unit available this calendar year. That looks like it came out to 16. Remember that no fire unit available is an automatic assignment by the CAD when it is looking for a volunteer engine that should have been dispatched that's not in service, or when there's no unit available to send, which could be by type or altogether. And so 16 occurrences since the beginning of the year, and we'll continue to monitor that. Regarding the budget, we're at 72.3% spent for this budget. I was informed that we are going to stop all discretionary spending for the budget for this current fiscal year. I was notified by the finance department over the last week, and so we've agreed to do so, and so we're going to try to hold the only discretionary lines that I really have in the fire department budget are some purchases that come out of the building, come out of equipment, fire prevention, which is a pretty small line, but I do not want to slow down on repairing apparatus. I don't think that we should be doing that. And so it really leaves me with very limited lines that I have any discretion over. And so those are really the only two. So we're going to continue to work with the finance department on trying to limit our expenses for the rest of the fiscal year. Just keep in mind that could just make the start of the next fiscal year a little challenging. Only put things behind for so long. Regarding the fire fees, and this is part of the reason why the budget is in a little bit of a concern right now from the town. Our fire fees at this point through the end of period 8 is just under $300,000. We anticipated a $500,000 budget revenue line. We met that every year, essentially, consistently, but that looks like, unless we get a couple of big projects to come into town, that may be under, as well as the building department's fee is just as much under. Our ALS billing through period 8, we're at just about $72,000 out of the $90,000 projected revenue. I have a couple other things on the budget. Before I go any further, are there any questions?
So the ALS billing,
Yep.
do you think that will come in where you expect?
It's going to come pretty close, yeah.
And then, any idea, is it just that there haven't been as many projects going on?
Yeah, so that fire fee line is a direct result of the number of new building permits, predominantly some existing building permits, but it's tied strictly to commercial and industrial permits only. So there hasn't been a lot of buildings breaking ground around town in the last few months. And so, I mean, really you just need one big project and that will suddenly take care of itself. And we don't know of anything that's going to necessarily hit with any kind of certainty this fiscal year, so we're just monitoring it.
I know with the state of the town, Mike Frieda indicated that we had a number of projects that were on the front burner, but as you indicated, nothing that was going to materialize that he's under the impression of that will occur this fiscal year.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm pleased to hear you say is that we are not going to not continue to spend money repairing our apparatus. It's absolutely critical that we continue to keep them up to the standards. I wouldn't want any of our firefighters to be in danger in any way, shape, or form, not having the equipment that is appropriate. So thank you for that.
Of course.
One other quick question along the discretionary spending line. In terms of building maintenance, like repairing heat, is that something we're going to continue to do?
Yeah, so
Like
As-
you
as-
in here?
Yes,
as
yes.
it's chilly in here, right? And so what I can tell you here, just because I just want you to understand is believe it or not, these buildings are not new anymore. These buildings are pushing 12 to 14 years old now. And so the heating system here failed. And so we had the opportunity to replace a part in the system or for some more money replace the entire system. Unfortunately, this is not our first problem in this building with heat. We've had several problems with heating and air conditioning over the last couple of years. There's a variety of reasons why that's occurring. They're maintained. We have a regular maintenance contract with a company, but that company has said to us, look, you can either continue to make repairs or perhaps look to replace the entire thing. So we've opted to replace the entire system outside, and unfortunately we found out there's some pieces inside of the system as well that need to be repaired. So we're waiting for parts, and unfortunately that's the problem everywhere right now, is that the delay on getting parts is substantial. And so right now this building has no heat at all, hasn't had heat in about probably 2 months. So we're relying on some electric baseboard heat that's throughout the building as a means of backup just in case, and we expect it to be completed in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But to your point, no, we're going to continue to make the emergent repairs that we need to make on buildings. But of course, things like a light being out and things like that, we're going to hold off on. An overhead door doesn't open and we can't get an apparatus out, we're going to get the overhead door fixed. The exhaust system that takes the particulates out of the air that we don't want to breathe, we'll get that fixed. I mean, so within reason, we have some discretion, but as you've started to realize too, we don't have a lot of discretion in some of these items.
Okay.
Before I move on beyond the budget, a couple other things to reference is we do have 2 members in the fire academy. We do not expect them to graduate until June 2025. I can cover some more of their progress in executive session. I have 1 member that's been out on sick leave since September of 2024. I do not have an anticipated return date for that member. 1 member out on injury leave since November 6th. Anticipate return of June 2025, and 1 member out injury leave since December. And we anticipate a return date sometime in April. And so, those are additional coverages that we need to make sure that we're taking care of in overtime. The fire marshal's report was provided to you in advance of this meeting. A couple of things that are worth noting in there: 28 inspections for the month of February. 2 abatement orders were issued to businesses that are requiring, subject to court order, repairs that have not been responsive. 33 plan reviews. Again, we just talked about the number of new buildings necessarily being down, driving the permit fees down, but there are still, tenant fit outs and things like that. Anytime you see a new store go into a plaza, there's plans that have to be submitted to that to make sure that the intended use and that the floor design and floor layout and occupancy do still meet fire life safety code. And so there's always going to be those inspections to do. 52 records requests and 41 public inquiries. I also want to, without disclosing properties, bring your attention to a couple of properties that were of concern over the last month, one of which is an illegal nightclub that was occurring in town that we are able to prevent from happening any longer. It was being congregated and alcohol was being served in very early morning hours, and so that was stopped, as well as a building where we found a false wall constructed in the back of the business, and we found a small hole that went through the wall, and there was the business owner was sleeping there. So, I mean, these are some of the things that we find in our routine inspections that we're out doing. We also are looking at another potential issue right now with a capacity issue and concerts taking place. There's a lot that occurs in this town that people do not realize, that we are fortunate to have inspectors that are out doing inspections of properties. Whether or not they're new or not, we have a requirement, statutory requirement, to be in these properties anywhere from an annual to every 3 years basis to do these inspections, and we do them quite thoroughly. That is what I have for the budget and for fire marshals. Regarding the chief's report, the only thing I wanted to talk about, because it does relate a little bit to the budget, is that last fiscal year there was $300,000 appropriated for the purchase of a second set of structural firefighter personal protective equipment for all firefighters, volunteer and career in town. That entire delivery we've received and has been placed in the service. Because of the bulk purchase that we were able to buy all at once, we were able to capture quite a bit of savings. When, the more you buy, sometimes the cheaper the unit price is. Due to that, we're able to purchase a set of non-structural PPE for every single firefighter. And so what is that? And so you've heard a lot about PFAS, and PFAS in a lot of things, including firefighter gear. And the PFAS, unfortunately, is in the firefighter gear that we wear each and every day. The same thing that we're trying to be protected from, unfortunately, is in the insulation, in the thermal barrier of our PPE, to the point where when we receive the new gear, we have to wash it 5 times to make it safe to wear. So PFAS in firefighting PPE is a concern. Unfortunately, there is not a manufacturer in the country yet that has a way of making firefighter personal protective equipment, structural firefighting gear, that doesn't have PFAS. And so with that in mind, and with the savings that we had incurred, this administration decided to move forward with purchasing non-structural firefighter PPE. And so it is essentially going to look the same way, but it doesn't have that thermal barrier on the inside. And so we can wear that PPE to a lot of incidents and avoid from having to put that firefighting gear on that has a PFAS in it, that has that big thick thermal layer in it. So what kind of incidents? Your routine fire alarms, brush fires, things where you need to have some protection on a car accident, where you need to have the protection for the weather and for injuries from, let's say, trauma from being cut, but you don't need to actually have it on where you're going into a hot environment. And so as of today, all of that PPE has been placed in the service thanks to Deputy Chief Bisson, and our members are, I believe, as of today, one step closer, one step healthier, and I want to thank the commission and the town for supporting that purchase last year, because we are one of still only few departments in the state that are implementing this type of gear for our routine day-to-day operations.
Quick question. So if they go on a call, and then they get called to a fire,
They carry both sets with
they
them.
carry both sets with them? Okay.
And the second set, the new set, is lighter. Of
course.
So it makes it more convenient certainly for the firefighter,
Yeah.
and certainly a lot safer.
You're welcome to stop by and check it out any point in time, or perhaps after the meeting. Is that how the set? There's members here that have already put it in service. I had to check because it just got delivered and put in service today. So after the meeting, you're welcome to check it out.
Thank you. I'm pleased that we have taken delivery of that, and our firefighters are safer for it. So, thank you, Chief. Anything else, Chief? Any other comments for the Chief? Here and then we'll move on to the correspondence. Chief, have you received any correspondence?
Other than the daily correspondence that I receive, I have nothing else outside the routine. No.
Has any commissioner received any correspondence? Old business for the fire department.
Chairman, I have nothing for old business or new business. I have several items for good of the department.
Okay. Good of the department.
A couple of things. I'm pleased to announce that as of today, we can officially announce that Chief Jeff Naples from the Hamden Fire Department has accepted a position and all the paperwork has been signed. He will be our new Deputy Fire Chief of Administration. You should expect to see him at our next Fire Commission meeting. We'll start to include both deputy chiefs at our meetings from this point forward. We're thrilled to take on Deputy Chief Jeff Naples. We had about a dozen applicants for the position. The commission interviewed what we believe to be the top 4 candidates were invited for an interview, and we're happy with the decision that the commission made, and we're eager to work with Chief Jeff Naples moving forward, and we'll have some more details on that as it gets closer. My anticipation is that we'll do a swearing-in ceremony at the same time that we swear in 2 firefighters when they graduate in May, so we can just kind of make it all one big ceremony. And so that's official as of today. It's been released. A couple other things I have is that we are due to honor our 2 fallen firefighters, firefighter Matthias Wirtz and firefighter Anthony DeSimone, once again as we come up on the time of year when we offered the memorial service last year at fire headquarters. Through working with the union and talking with some members, we've decided to move forward with a ceremonial mass this year. The anticipation being that we will do a ceremony at fire headquarters at an interval to be determined, but likely like 3 to 5 years, just so it doesn't become repetitive. And we'll honor our fallen firefighters moving forward in the form of a mass moving forward. And then, again, we'll figure out a date in a few years from now for a ceremony at fire headquarters or elsewhere. I do not have a date yet for the mass. I'm going to begin to work with our local Catholic Church on trying to figure out what date works best. So more to come on that, but that's what I have for good of the department.
Chief, thank you very much, and I want to thank the commission for the time that was spent during the interviewing process. It was a long night. It was warmer than it is here today, thank God. But I want to thank you for the time and effort in going through the interviews, and I want to echo the chief's comments. Where I think we're very fortunate that Deputy Chief Naples has accepted the position here in our department. We interviewed some very intelligent people with many years of service, with significant education. Both formal education and certainly education in the fire service, it was an eye-opening experience to listen to the persons that we interviewed answer the questions and how well versed they were in fire service. So again, I want to thank the commissioners for the time, and I certainly want to congratulate Deputy Chief Naples for being the successful candidate and being willing and having signed the agreement to come to work here at the North Haven Fire Department. The anticipated start date is?
Sometime in April.
Sometime in April, yeah. We look forward to that. I think we have, at this point, a dynamic senior leadership of our department. I know that Chief Naples will be taking your guidance, both from the chief and deputy chief. So I really appreciate the fact that you'll school him as to the North Haven Fire Department. Certainly doesn't need any schooling as far as fire safety and fire department is concerned, having been a chief in Hamden. But again, we're certainly excited to welcome him to our family here at the North Haven Fire Department.
Looking forward to it. I'll let the commission know when I have a more definitive idea on a start date. Unfortunately, the only thing I do want to talk about, which is something that we've got to acknowledge, is we are expecting the NIOSH report for firefighter Wirtz to be released soon. And so, as this commission knows, I traveled to Washington, D.C. in the last 30 days. In my travels there, one of the things I did was follow up in person with NIOSH to find out the status of the report that this commission helped with that process. It's been 2 years since the site visit was conducted, and I followed up with NIOSH in person, and I was provided with some additional information. to follow up. And so I've since been notified in the last week that NIOSH will have their draft report to us in the next 2 weeks, the month of March. I'm letting you know that because I'll need to do a few things between now and our April meeting, and one of which is review the report and meet with the family. And so I hope to have that done by the time that our April meeting is here. And I don't know what the timeline is beyond that, but just to know that there's at least some progress and some closure, I think is important. And so I'll follow up with the commission when I do know more about that. And that's what I have for good of the department.
Okay, I see we have something here regarding probationary members for Company 3. Is there a motion that needs to be made on?
What I
on
can
that?
do is I can cover that in, do you have them ready?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Any questions at all with those? They're routine.
I just have one.
You have one?
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second or no? Just a one? Okay.
Okay.
So it's a routine motion. If there's any questions, I can certainly take it, but
Okay. Commissioner?
I make a motion to accept Alyssa Alexandra, a probationary member of the West Ridge Volunteer Fire Company, number 3, effective immediately.
Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Is there any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Anything else for the good of the department, chief?
nothing further for good of the department.
Okay,
no.
I see there's no one here for public comments.
I do have a couple things, Chairman. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes
Go
further.
ahead, chief.
A couple of things I wanted to make sure that the commission is aware of is repairs at Northeast Station are continuing. Then the other piece, I believe we talked about this, but I can't remember, is there was an ordinance voted on recently for the volunteer firefighters, and I just wanted to acknowledge those volunteers that attended and those members of the public that asked questions and ultimately supported the motion. And so what it was an ordinance change, and it allows, we've always allowed for an abatement to be qualified for by our volunteer firefighters. It ranges from $1,000 to a couple of $1,000s. It's based on activity. It's based on how active they are as a volunteer firefighter. Unfortunately, that was only available to members that incurred taxes, whether it be real estate or vehicle, and that lived in town. And we have some members that do not live in North Haven that work just as hard as those volunteers who do live in North Haven. And we've never been able to provide them anything equal to the abatement. And so what that ordinance allows us to do is cut them a check, issue them a 1099 through the finance office, but cut them a check equal to what they would have earned if they lived in town with an abatement. That's a really big deal for a lot of members that have asked for this for a very long time, but live out of town. And we do have some members that, because some of the volunteers around us aren't very active, they live out of town, but they live close enough to our town line where they are members of our department. The other thing that did was it allowed for compensation to be provided for members that have no tax. So one of the things that we try to do is attract young volunteers. And usually those young volunteers, fortunately, mom and dad are taking care of taxes usually, and there's not really any taxes in their name. And so this allows them that same amount equal to an abatement to be provided for in the form of a check. They can pay for their gas, they can do anything like that they incurred through the year, but at least it's something. And so I think that ordinance really fixes what I'm going to say is the last gaps that we had in our abatement process for the volunteer firefighters. And I know that they're thrilled with the change. It doesn't benefit a lot, but the few it benefits, it's certainly appreciated. And so I just want the commission to realize that occurred.
Chief, I want to thank you for spearheading that, and certainly Mike Frieda. We had a meeting probably a year now ago with the volunteers on this very subject, and it was an interesting, eye-opening experience to listen to some of our younger volunteers express the very comments that the chief just spoke about. They had no tax property. They were interested in continuing to volunteer, but needed some bit of a stipend of compensation. And I think the residents who voted for this, I want to thank them as well. It's something that I think the volunteers are very well deserved of, especially for those that are going to benefit from these dollars. They're the folks that are showing up, and the ones that we want to continue to support. So I want to thank everyone involved in this endeavor. I think it's got a significant benefit, and hopefully it will translate into additional persons joining the volunteer ranks. So thank you, Chief, for spearheading this. Appreciate it. Nothing else under the good of the department. I see there's no one here for public comments. I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'd like to reconvene the Board of Fire Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 18, 2025. Is there any further business coming before this commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.